In 1979, Officer Linda Hawley was 34 years old. A mother, a wife, and a respected traffic cop in a small Oklahoma town. She left home one morning wearing her tan uniform and badge, kissed her daughter goodbye, and drove off in her patrol car. She never came back. For years, people thought she ran away. Some believed she was kidnapped. Others whispered darker rumors that maybe someone close to her knew what really happened. But police found nothing. Not her car, not her body, not even her badge. Then, 15 years later, a heat wave hit the state. A dry riverbed cracked open. And deep in the mud, someone saw something strange sticking out of the ground. When police came to investigate, they pulled up a crushed, rusted patrol car. Inside was something no one was ready for. And it completely changed the story everyone thought they knew. It was August 7th, 1979. Just a normal Tuesday in Caddo County, Oklahoma. The sun was rising. The streets were quiet. And Officer Linda Hawley was getting ready for her shift. She was 34 years old. A traffic cop, a mother, a wife. She had been with the highway patrol for nearly 10 years. People in town liked her. She was kind, honest, and always on time. That morning, Linda put on her tan uniform, pinned on her badge, and tied her boots. She packed her lunch, grabbed her notebook, and walked into the kitchen. Her 8-year-old daughter was sitting at the table, eating cereal. Linda leaned down, kissed her on the head, and smiled. "I'll be home before dinner," she said. "B. Good for Daddy." Then she walked out the door, got into her white patrol car, and drove off. It was supposed to be a simple shift. A few traffic stops, maybe help at an intersection. Nothing serious. But that was the last normal moment her family would ever have. Because by sunset, Linda Hawley would be gone. Her patrol car would vanish. And no one would understand how a mother in uniform could disappear into thin air. Around 12:15 p.m., Linda was seen at a small roadside diner just off Highway 62. Waitress who served her that day said Linda looked calm. She ordered a turkey sandwich and a cup of coffee. She smiled, left a tip, and walked out without rushing. Outside the diner, a few truckers noticed her patrol car parked under a tree. Nothing seemed strange. No one followed her. No arguments. No calls for help. She radioed in right after lunch, saying she was heading back out on patrol. Everything sounded normal. That was the last confirmed sighting of Linda Hawley. After that moment, no one ever saw her alive again. Her car was never seen on any road. No new calls came from her radio. It was like she had vanished into thin air, in the middle of the day, in full uniform, with her squad car. Just gone. At 1:10 p.m., dispatch tried to check in with Linda. She didn't answer. At first, no one panicked. Sometimes radios cut out. Maybe she was helping someone. Maybe she was in a dead zone. They tried again at 1:30. Still no reply. By 2 p.m., it became serious. Linda never missed a check-in. She followed rules. She was steady. Dispatch called nearby units. No one had seen her. By 3 p.m., her supervisor ordered a full check of her usual patrol route. Officers drove the roads, checked parking lots, gas stations, side roads. Nothing. They called her husband. He said she hadn't come home. He hadn't heard from her since morning. At 5 p.m., they radioed her car's ID again. Still no signal, no GPS ping, no distress code. Just silence. And that's when the fear really started to spread. Linda Hawley wasn't late. Linda Hawley didn't just disappear. By sunset, panic had set in. The local sheriff's office joined the search. State troopers from nearby towns came in to help. Helicopters were sent up. They flew over rivers, farms, old roads, and woods. But there was no trace of Linda, and no trace of her patrol car. No skid marks. No signs of a crash. No broken glass or oil leaks. Nothing. It was like the car had been picked up and dropped off the planet. Police knocked on doors. Farmers, truckers, ranchers. Everyone said the same thing. They hadn't seen Linda since that morning. The FBI was notified. Linda's face went out on TV that night. Her badge number was broadcast across the state, but no one called with a real tip. Her daughter kept asking her dad, "Is Mommy coming home tonight?" He didn't answer because he didn't know. No one did. By nightfall, the search turned into something bigger. Helicopters flew low over the fields, shining lights down into trees, ditches, and dry riverbeds. Police cars lined up along country roads. Officers walked in rows through tall grass and overgrown brush, calling Linda's name. Boats were sent out to nearby creeks and ponds. Divers checked the deeper parts, hoping to find the glint of a patrol car underwater. Nothing. No tire tracks. No pieces of metal. No sounds from her radio. Even search dogs couldn't pick up her scent. By the second day, they had covered more than 40 miles of land. Everyone hoped they'd missed something small. A sign, a clue, anything. But the sky gave them nothing. The ground gave them nothing. It was like Linda Hawley had vanished off the face of the earth, and her car, a full-size police cruiser, had disappeared with her. Back at home, things were falling apart. Linda's husband, Tom, hadn't slept. He kept pacing the living room, calling people, begging for updates. Every time the phone rang, he jumped. But it was never good news. Their daughter, Ellie, just sat on the couch, holding one of her mom's work shirts. She didn't understand. She kept asking the same question. Why hasn't Mommy come home yet? Tom didn't know what to say. At first, he said Linda was working late. Then that she was helping someone. But after 2 days, he stopped pretending. He sat down beside Ellie and said, "We're trying to find her." That's all he could manage. Linda's parents came into town. So did her sister. The house filled with people, but it didn't feel full. It felt hollow. Each day that passed, they hoped for a call, a clue, something. But all they got was silence. And the silence was worse than anything. By day 4, Linda's face was everywhere. Her patrol photo, with her soft smile and bright badge, was printed on hundreds of flyers. Volunteers posted them on stop signs, gas stations, grocery store windows, and telephone poles. The local paper printed a full-page story. Highway patrol officer missing. Search enters day 4. TV stations picked it up too. Her picture was shown statewide. For a moment, it felt like momentum. People started calling in tips. Some claimed they saw her car near the highway. Others said they saw a woman in uniform walking near the woods. Police followed every single lead, but none went anywhere. The diner waitress was re-interviewed. The truckers from that day were tracked down. Everyone said the same thing. She was there. And then she was gone. After 2 weeks, the calls slowed. After a month, they stopped. The posters stayed up, but the hope behind them faded. No one had answers, not even guesses. Linda Hawley had simply vanished. At first, people were shocked. But after a week with no answers, the whispers started. Some neighbors said Linda had been acting strange before she vanished. Quieter, distant. Maybe she was under stress. Others said she had been asking odd questions around town about an old arrest or a closed case. No one could prove it, but they talked anyway. A few said she left on purpose. That maybe she was tired of the job, tired of her marriage. That maybe she wanted to start a new life. But others thought the opposite. That someone did something to her. She was too smart to get lost, one store owner said. She must have crossed the wrong person. Another whispered. At church, some people prayed for her return. Others quietly wondered if they were wasting time. The longer Linda stayed missing, the louder the rumors got. And with every day that passed, The town began to forget the facts and replace them with stories they couldn't prove. Stories that only made things worse. Some of the darkest. Rumors came from people who claimed to know secrets. One woman told police she heard Linda was having an affair. That maybe she had run away with someone she met on duty. Another said she believed Linda had caught a criminal who wanted revenge. Both stories spread fast, but neither had any proof. There were no goodbye letters, no bank withdrawals, no strange calls before she disappeared. Linda's car was still missing, and so was her badge. Still, people talked. She left with someone, some said. She was ambushed. Others argued. Even people who didn't know Linda had opinions. The mailman, a gas station clerk, a retired farmer. No one knew what really happened, but everyone wanted to guess. And with each new theory, the truth felt farther and farther away. Back at the police station, things were tense. Some officers believed Linda had been followed, that someone had been watching her routes, waiting for the right moment. Others weren't so sure. A few hinted that her marriage was falling apart. Maybe she ran. Arguments broke out behind closed doors. The station was quiet on the outside, but inside, people were fighting, not just over what happened, but over who had missed something. One officer admitted he saw Linda talking to someone in a black truck weeks before she disappeared. He never reported. Another said she had asked about an old case file that had been sealed years ago. No one had answers. Just theories, blame, and more silence. The station had lost one of its own, and the cracks were starting to show. 10 days after Linda vanished, the police station got a strange phone call. A man's voice, calm, quiet, said he saw a white patrol car parked near a river just outside of town. He gave a location, then hung up. Officers rushed to the scene. It was a wooded area off a dirt road, overgrown, muddy, quiet. They searched for hours. Nothing. No car, no tire marks, no footprints. They tried calling the number back. It was blocked. No one could trace the call. They even brought in state techs to check phone records. Nothing. Was it real? A prank? A warning? The location was only 5 miles from where Linda had last radioed. Some officers thought the call was legit. Others thought someone was messing with them or trying to distract them from where she really was. Whatever the truth was, they never found the caller, and they never stopped wondering. What if they had missed something? After the strange phone call led nowhere, things got worse. People in town kept spreading false stories about Linda. Some even said the family must be hiding something, that maybe her husband knew more than he was saying. So Linda's parents and husband decided to speak out. They held a press conference on the courthouse steps. Her father stood at the mic, holding a photo of Linda in uniform. He said, "Our daughter didn't run. She didn't leave her family. Someone took her." Tom, Linda's husband, spoke next. His hand shook as he begged the public to stop guessing, stop lying, and help search for the truth. Reporters asked tough questions. The family didn't flinch. They wanted one thing: to bring Linda home. That press conference made headlines. But after that day, the attention started to fade again, and the search, once loud and strong, began to grow quiet. Linda's daughter, Ellie, didn't forget. She was only 8 when her mom disappeared. But she remembered everything: her smile, her uniform, the way she kissed her forehead before leaving. Every year on her birthday, Ellie wrote her mom a letter. She'd sit at the kitchen table, scribbling with a pen, pouring her heart onto the page. "Hi, Mommy. I miss you. Are you okay? Are you still out there?" She kept the letters in a shoebox under her bed. Her dad didn't ask her to stop. He couldn't. It was her way of holding on. As she got older, the letters changed. They became longer, sadder. She started asking harder questions. What happened to you? Why didn't anyone protect you? Did someone hurt you? She never stopped writing, because deep down, Ellie believed her mom didn't leave. She believed her mom wanted to come home and just couldn't. Time passed. A year went by. Then 2. Then 5. The flyers were taken down. The news stopped covering the case. New crimes replaced the old one. The town slowly moved on. The diner where Linda ate her last meal changed owners. Her face was removed from the bulletin board. Her patrol number was reassigned to a younger officer. People still remembered Linda Halley, but fewer talked about her. Some said it was time to let go. Others said, life moves on. But Ellie didn't move on, Dot. She was now a teenager, quieter than before. She spent hours looking through her mom's old things, notebooks, badges, photos. Some nights, she sat by the window, staring out at the road where her mom had driven away. She never gave up. Not once. Even when teachers told her to focus on school. Even when kids at church whispered behind her back. She kept waiting. Watching Dot, because Ellie knew one thing no one else seemed to believe anymore. Her mom didn't just disappear. Someone had made her disappear, Dot, and one day, that secret would come out. 3 years after Linda disappeared, her husband Tom remarried. Some people said it was time, that he deserved happiness, that he had suffered enough, but others didn't agree. They said it was too soon, that it looked bad, that it felt like giving up. Tom didn't say much. He stayed quiet. When asked about Linda, he only said, I tried. Everything. The wedding was small, no big celebration. Just family and a few friends. Ellie, now 11, was there. She didn't smile. She wore a dress and sat in the front row. But her eyes stayed on the door, like she was still waiting for her real mom to walk in. She never did. And in the years that followed, people in town stopped talking about Linda Halley, like she was missing. They started talking about her like she was gone, and maybe that hurt more than the silence ever did. A few years later, the police station moved into a new building. Fresh paint, new floors, modern offices. New officers, too, younger, less connected to the past. But on one wall near the entrance, they hung up a row of framed photos. Retired officers, fallen officers, missing officers. Linda's picture was in the center, her tan uniform, her soft smile, her badge number printed underneath. Most days, people walked right past it. New recruits didn't ask who she was. Dispatchers stopped mentioning her code. Even some detectives forgot the details of her case. Thought it had been almost 10 years since she vanished. The old detectives had retired or moved away. Case files were boxed up and stored in the back room. Linda Halley had become just a face in a frame. Not a real person. Not a mom. Just a mystery no one had solved. And fewer people still cared to. Ellie was now 15. She didn't smile much anymore. She was smart, quiet, and always on time, just like her mom used to be. But something in her had changed. She didn't go to school dances. She didn't hang out after class. She didn't talk about her mom, but she never stopped thinking about her. She still had the shoebox under her bed, the one with all the birthday letters. She still wrote in it once a year, but now the words were harder. Why hasn't anyone found you? Did they stop looking? Do they even remember? Sometimes she cried while writing. Sometimes she didn't, but she always wrote. One day, a teacher gave the class an assignment. Write about the person you admire most. Ellie wrote about her mom. When she handed it in, the teacher paused, stared at her, and simply said, We haven't forgotten. The river near where Linda was last seen had a strange pattern. Some years, it flooded. The banks overflowed. The water rushed through trees and fields, strong enough to carry away a car. Other years, it dried up. The mud cracked. The rocks showed. Everything slowed to a crawl. but no one really paid attention to it anymore. Search teams had checked the river once, years ago, found nothing, so they moved on. Locals fished there. Kids swam there. But no one thought about Linda when they looked at the water. No. One wondered what could still be hiding under the surface. By the time Ellie was 17, the river had flooded and dried at least 5 times, and still, no one searched it again. Sometimes she would ride her bike there, just to stand by the edge. She didn't know why, but something always pulled her back. At the police station, Linda's case file sat on a high shelf in the evidence room. A brown cardboard box with her name on the front. Holly, L. Written in faded black marker. Inside, photos, reports, search maps, and transcripts. Her last radio call. Her missing person flyer. A list of every tip that went nowhere. No fingerprints. No security footage. No body. No patrol car. Just paper. Over time, newer files were stacked on top. Robberies. Drug cases, burglaries, murders. Officers who had once searched for her now worked other jobs or had retired. Nobody checked the file anymore. No one asked about it. The case was still open, technically, but it wasn't active. In the eyes of the department, it was cold, frozen in time. And just like that, one of the strangest disappearances in town history faded into the background. Filed. Away. Forgotten. By the early 1990s, the station had hired younger officers. Most of them were in their 20s. They hadn't lived in Caddo County when Linda vanished. They didn't know her. They weren't part of the search. Some had heard the name. A few remembered the old news stories. But most never asked questions. One rookie officer walked past her picture every morning. One day, he finally pointed and asked, "Who's that?" His supervisor shrugged. "That's the traffic cop who went missing," he said. "Years ago. No one ever found her, and that was it. No details, no theory. Just a name and a missing face. The new generation didn't know the pain. They didn't feel the weight. To them, it was just an old case with no ending. But Ellie never stopped. Now in her 20s, she had grown into a quiet, determined woman. She had boxes of her own now, newspaper clippings, handwritten notes, copies of police reports. She had made her own map of the last places her mom had been seen. Late at night, she would sit with a flashlight, going over the details again and again. She didn't believe her mom ran away. She didn't believe her mom was just gone. Ellie believed something happened, something real, something dark. And someone still knew the truth. She didn't have money. She didn't have power, but she had time. And she wasn't going to waste it, because deep down, she believed one thing. More than anything else, if she kept digging, if she didn't give up, she would find her mom, and she would find the people who took her. It was now 1994. 15 years since Linda Holly disappeared. That summer, Oklahoma faced one of its worst droughts in history. No rain, blazing heat, crops failed. Rivers shrank. In Caddo County, the river near Highway 62 dropped to its lowest level in decades. The mud cracked. The rocks were bone dry. Most people didn't think much of it. Fishermen moved their boats. Kids stopped swimming. Farmers complained. But the river was changing, revealing things no one had seen before. On a hot Tuesday afternoon, a man named Jerry Wilkes went down to the river to fish. He brought his folding chair, a cooler, and his radio. But when he looked toward the far end of the riverbed, something caught his eye. Something metal. Something half buried in the mud. It didn't look like a rock. It looked like a door. And that's when everything changed. Jerry walked over to the strange shape in the mud. At first, he thought it was junk, maybe an old fridge or truck door. But the closer he got, the clearer it became. It was white, rusted, heavy, and it had a smooth edge like it was part of a vehicle. He touched it. Cold, even in the heat. Solid. Something was buried deep below it. Something big. He called the sheriff's department. An officer arrived, took one look, and called for backup. By sunset, crews were roping off the area. Cameras arrived. So did old officers, some who had been there the day Linda vanished. They brought out shovels and started digging. The dirt was hard. The mud had baked into stone. But piece by piece, the shape became clearer. A roof. A broken antenna. A cracked windshield. It wasn't junk. It was a car. The next morning, the digging continued. An old tow truck was brought in. They hooked chains to the metal and slowly pulled. Mud cracked and broke apart. And then the letters appeared, faded, rusted, but still readable. Highway Patrol. Gasps echoed from the crowd. Reporters started shouting. Cops froze in place. One detective dropped his notepad. Someone whispered, "It's her. It's Linda." The white patrol car was almost completely buried. But the front end, crushed and rusted, was now fully exposed. No one could believe it. After 15 years, Linda Hale's patrol car had been found, buried beneath the riverbed, hidden under layers of mud, stone, and silence. That had been right there the whole time. A place they had searched once, but never deep enough. Now the question was, what was inside? And why had someone buried it in the first place? Crews worked for hours, clearing out mud and sand. Once the back tires were visible, they began the slow process of pulling the full car out. People watched from the hill above. News helicopters hovered. Reporters stood with mics, whispering updates. Finally, with a groan of metal and a cloud of dust, the patrol car lifted from the earth. It was crushed in the front. The roof was dented. The doors were rusted shut. But it was still Linda's. Same model. Same number. Same bumper sticker Ellie remembered putting on with her mom when she was little. Officers stood in silence. Some took off their hats. Ellie was there too. Standing off to the side, arms crossed. She didn't cry. She didn't move. She just stared. Her mother's car, sealed shut for 15 years, was finally back, above ground. And she knew, deep down, the truth was inside. Ellie stepped forward. The crowd made space. Reporters went quiet. The wind slowed. She stood in front of the car, only a few feet away. There it was. The vehicle her mom had disappeared in. The last place she was seen. The mystery that had haunted her whole life. She looked at the cracked windows. The side mirror still had a piece of her mom's favorite ribbon tied to it. Faded now, barely hanging on. Her hand shook. But her face stayed still. She whispered, "Hi, Mom." Officers gave her a moment. She didn't speak again. Just kept looking. 15 years of waiting, of writing letters, of hearing rumors. Now the truth felt close. Right in front of her. She reached out and touched the roof. The metal was hot from the sun, but she didn't pull back. She just stood there. After all this time, the silence was breaking. And for the first time in years, she felt something strange. Not fear, not grief. Hope. Officers began the inspection. They carefully broke open the front doors. The seats were caved in. The dashboard was cracked. Everything inside was ruined by time and water. But there was no body. No blood. Nothing obvious. Then they moved to the trunk. It was sealed tight, rusted over, jammed. They tried the key, snapped it. Used crowbars, bent them. Even drills had trouble breaking through. Whatever was inside hadn't seen the light in 15 years. People gathered around, holding their breath. Ellie watched from the hill, arms tight around her chest. Finally, they brought in a hydraulic tool. It hissed, cracked, and forced the trunk latch loose. The moment it popped, an officer yelled, "Back up!" They opened the trunk slowly, carefully. The smell hit first. Strong, sour, old. Inside, it was dark, Piled under a ripped tarp was something that looked like old fabric, maybe clothes. A bag dot, and just beneath that, something else dot something. No one expected that an officer reached into the trunk and gently pulled back the tarp. Everyone leaned forward dot first. A pair of leather boots, police issue, worn, water damaged. Then a folded tan uniform. The badge was still attached. It read, Holly. Gasps. Camera shutters. Reporters whispering dot, then they found a service weapon. Still in its holster. Still loaded dot next to it was something strange. An envelope wrapped in plastic sealed with tape. Inside, a hand-drawn map. A red X was marked deep in a wooded area, far from town. But the most chilling thing? Blood. Dried, dark, and soaked into the carpet under the tarp. Samples were taken. Forensics would later confirm it was human. Everyone stood in stunned silence. No body. No bones. But too many signs to ignore. This wasn't just an abandoned car. This was a crime scene. One that had been hidden, buried, and forgotten for 15 years. Whatever happened to Officer Linda Holly? It hadn't been an accident dot, and now the case was no longer cold dot, it was wide open. And the people who had buried this car? They were still out there dot, and they had no idea what was coming next. The patrol car was taken to the forensics garage. Investigators wore gloves, masks, and suits. Every inch of the vehicle was documented. Photos were taken. Evidence was bagged dot inside. They found Linda's boots placed neatly under the driver's seat, like she had taken them off. Her notebook was still in the side door pocket. The pages had melted together from water damage, but a few names were still readable. Her service. Weapon hadn't been fired. The safety was still on. Her badge was missing, but the clip that held it was still hooked to her shirt. The radio was smashed. Someone had hit it, hard. Likely before the car was buried, dot. Then came something strange. A wristwatch. It had stopped at 1:47 p.m. That was less than 2 hours after she was last seen alive. The silence in the lab was thick. No one spoke, because it wasn't just what was found inside the car. Dot, it was what wasn't there. Dot, no struggle. No fingerprints. No signs of a body ever being in the driver's seat. Dot. It was like she got out willingly, or never made it back in. Dot next. They pulled out the back seat. Underneath the cushion, hidden from plain view, they found something that made the lead tech freeze. A dried pool of blood. Dark, soaked into the foam. Old. The sample was sent to the lab for immediate testing. Everyone knew what they were thinking. It had to be Linda's, but the results came back different. Dot. It wasn't hers. Dot. It was male. Unknown. DNA mystery. Why was there blood in the back seat? If Linda was driving the car, who had bled back there? And why didn't she call it in? Unless she never got the chance. Officers began digging deeper into her last assignments. Who had she stopped that day? Was there someone in her car? Did she pick someone up? Or was someone waiting inside? It was now clear. Whatever happened that day didn't start at the river. Something had gone wrong before that. And someone else had been with her. Someone who bled. Someone who left no name. And someone who may have been the reason Linda Holland never came home. While checking the floor under the passenger seat, a technician found something jammed between the mat and the metal dot. It was an envelope. Old, damp, torn on one edge. Inside was a folded sheet of paper, and on it, a map. Hand-drawn. Faint lines, simple marks. There were no words, just a rough sketch of a forest trail, a creek, and a large red X near the edge of a slope. The location was remote, a wooded area 10 miles outside town, on land that used to belong to a hunting club. The lead detective's hands shook slightly as he held the paper. It was the only new clue they had. Why had Linda kept it hidden? Who gave it to her? Had she gone to that spot before she vanished? Or had she been planning to go there and never made it? One thing was clear. She wasn't just doing traffic stops that day. She was following something, or someone. And now, for the first time in 15 years, the case was leading somewhere. The red X was real, and whatever was buried there might explain everything. A team of officers, along with Ellie and a forensic crew, followed the map. The trail was hard to find. Overgrown, faded, almost gone. It led through tall weeds, past broken fence posts, and into a clearing lined with trees. Birds scattered as they stepped into the open. Then they saw it. The land dipped slightly, forming a shallow gully. The same shape from the sketch, right where the X had been drawn. They began digging. At first, it was just rocks and dirt. Then, a scrap of cloth. Then something harder. Bone. Forensics confirmed it was a human skeleton. Buried deep, wrapped in old fabric and plastic. Everyone froze. Could it be Linda? Ellie stepped closer, heart racing, but the skull showed signs that didn't match. Male, older. They ran tests. The remains belonged to a man named Daniel Griggs, reported missing in 1981, 2 years after Linda vanished. Now things were even. Stranger. What was he doing here? Why did Linda have a map leading to his body? And how were these two disappearances connected? What had Linda found back then that someone tried so hard to bury? The discovery of Daniel Griggs shocked everyone. He wasn't from town. He had no connection to Linda. His case had gone cold over a decade ago. He had a criminal record, mostly minor theft, trespassing, and one charge for breaking into a cabin near Caddo County in 1979. That cabin was only a few miles from where Linda had disappeared. Detectives went back through old files. That break-in had been assigned to Linda Hall. She had written it up, investigated it, even left a note in the margins, returning to check something. Feels off. That was 1 week before she vanished. Now, both Linda and the man she once investigated were connected, one by a buried patrol car, the other by a hidden grave. Someone had gone to great lengths to erase them both. And if Linda had found the body back then, that meant she knew something. Something that got her killed. But why hide it for 15 years? And what else had she left behind? After the discovery, Ellie couldn't sleep. She went home and opened the old shoebox. The one with all the letters she had written her mom since age 8. She pulled out one of the early ones, folded it open. "Are you safe?" she had written. "Did someone hurt you?" Her handwriting was shaky, tear stains on the paper. She flipped through more, year after year, always asking the same thing. Then, deep in the stack, she found something different. A letter she didn't remember writing. But it wasn't hers. It was from Linda. It had been slipped in at some point. Maybe by her father. Maybe found after the funeral that never happened. It was handwritten on police letterhead. Dated 1 day before she vanished. It said, "If anything happens to me, check my car. I left something under the passenger seat." Ellie froze. That meant Linda knew. She was in danger. She had left the envelope with the map on purpose. She was trying to tell someone. And for 15 years, no one listened. Until now. The pieces were falling into place. Linda had found something. That day in 1979, or someone. She had uncovered a crime no one else knew about. Maybe a body, maybe a cover-up, maybe both. She was scared. She warned someone. She hid a map. And then, she vanished. Her car was buried. The scene cleaned. Her badge taken. Someone powerful had made her disappear. But they had missed something. That map, that note. And the daughter who never gave up. Ellie took the case file to a private investigator. Together, they started making noise, pressuring the department, calling old names, showing the evidence. And one thing kept coming up. A man named Deputy Carl Redford. He had worked with Linda. was one of the last people to speak with her. He retired early. Moved out of state. Quiet life. No questions, but now he was on the list. Again, because the truth wasn't buried anymore. And if someone had helped hide Linda Hale's body, they were about to be exposed. While reviewing old records, a young detective noticed something strange. There was another officer who had quietly left the department right after Linda Hale disappeared. His name, Deputy Carl Redford. Redford had worked the same shift as Linda. He was even one of the last officers to check in with her on the day she vanished. But 2 weeks after her disappearance, he turned in his badge. No warning, no goodbye, just left. Back then, no one questioned it. The department was overwhelmed. They assumed he had family issues or burnout. No one looked deeper. But now, with the patrol car found and a map hidden under the seat, his name came up again. The detective pulled Redford's file. It was thin. No major problems. Clean record. But something felt off. Why would an officer leave right after a coworker vanishes? And more importantly, why had no one asked that question before? Ellie saw the name in the report. Her heart dropped. She remembered him. He used to bring her candy when she visited the station as a kid. Now she wondered, was he just being kind? Or was he trying to stay close in case her mom had told someone the truth? Digging deeper, the detective found something that changed everything. A formal complaint, filed by Linda Hale, dated 4 days before she vanished. It was about Deputy Redford. The complaint said Redford had been acting strange during traffic stops, that he had logged in locations he never patrolled, that he had gone off the radio several times with no explanation. Linda also wrote that she believed he was hiding something, maybe involved in illegal activity. She requested a private meeting with a supervisor, but there was no follow-up. No one ever spoke to her about it. The document was signed, time-stamped, and filed, and then forgotten. Now it felt like a warning. Linda knew something was wrong. She said it out loud. She put it in writing. 4 days later, she vanished. That wasn't coincidence. That was a red flag no one noticed, or worse, ignored. Ellie read. The complaint was shaking hands. It wasn't just a guess now. Her mom had seen the danger, and someone had made sure she didn't speak again. The search for Redford stretched across state lines. His last known address in Oklahoma was empty. Neighbors hadn't seen him in over a decade. But then, a break. A DMV clerk in Arizona recognized an old photo from a police bulletin. She said the man now went by the name David Carter. He lived in a small desert town, drove an old pickup, lived alone, no social media, no contact with former coworkers. Detectives arrived early one morning. They found him sitting on his porch, drinking coffee. He was older now, thinner, but it was him. Carl Redford? They asked. He froze. No, name's David, he said, but his hands shook. His eyes darted. They showed him the complaint, the photo, Linda's name. He looked down. Long time ago, he mumbled. They asked if he would come in for questioning. He nodded, slowly. No lawyers. No shouting. Just silence. But as they loaded him into the car, one thing was clear. He had been hiding for 15 years. And now, he couldn't hide anymore. At the station, Redford sat across from two detectives. They laid out the photos. Linda, the patrol car, the hidden map, the buried body. He stared at the table, said nothing for a long time. Finally, he spoke. I don't know anything about that. He said he left the department because of stress. Family stuff. Didn't like how things were run. They showed him the complaint, the one Linda filed days before she vanished. He shrugged. I don't remember her filing that. Then he smiled. She was always a little nosy. The room went cold. The detectives pressed harder. Why had he changed? His name? Why leave town? Why disappear? He gave vague answers. Fresh start. New life. No crime in that. But the cracks were showing. He asked for a break. Wiped sweat from his forehead. Asked if this would go to court. When they told him the blood in the car wasn't Linda's and that it matched an old cold case, his face dropped. He leaned back in his chair, and for a brief moment, he looked afraid, not of being wrongfully blamed, but of being caught. Redford leaned forward, hands on the table. "All right," he whispered. "You want the truth?" The room went silent. He said it started small. A few officers using their patrol cars to move drugs across county lines. No one suspected them. Who stops a police car? Then it grew. Money got involved. People higher up started protecting it. Linda found out by accident. She was checking reports. Something didn't add up. Gas logs, patrol routes, locations that didn't match. Then she followed one of the patrol cars. Watched it pull behind a warehouse, stay for 20 minutes, then return with nothing on record. She didn't report it right away. She was scared. She told Redford she was gathering proof. She was, Redford said. Too smart. He told her to be careful, but she wouldn't let it go. She said she was going to blow it wide open. He whispered. That night, someone higher up called her. Said they wanted to meet to talk. She told Redford she was going. He never saw her. Again, I didn't kill her, he said, looking down. But I didn't stop it either. He paused. They used her own patrol car to bury her secret. Redford's voice grew quieter. He said Linda got a message on the radio. Someone pretending to be a dispatcher told her to respond to a code 3 by the river, a report of a car crash. She left her lunch halfway through. Told Redford she'd check it out. She never called back. Redford waited. Called dispatch. They said no such call was ever made. He panicked, but didn't report it. Why? Because he knew who had sent it. He wouldn't say the name. Said it was someone still walking free. But the message was clear. Linda had been set up. They wanted her alone, he said. No backup, no witnesses. She followed the instructions. Drove straight to the river. Redford said he believed they met her there. Made her think she was helping with something, then took her out. He said her car was hidden immediately. Her radio smashed. Badge removed. Everything wiped. They knew what they were doing, he whispered. They'd done it before. Detectives asked who they were. Redford just shook his head. You'll never get them, he said. You're too late. But the look in his eyes said otherwise. He was scared, and not just of prison. 1 week later, Carl Redford was found. Dead in his cell. He had been placed on suicide watch. But somehow, it didn't matter. A guard found him hanging from a bedsheet just before dawn. No note. No warning. Just silence. The department said it was suicide. Case closed. But others weren't so sure. Ellie didn't believe it. She believed someone silenced him. That the same people who buried her mom's car had now buried the only man left who knew the whole story. Redford took names to his grave. And once again, the truth slipped away. But not completely. Because Ellie had something they didn't expect. The letter her mom left the complaint with. Redford's name. The blood in the car that didn't belong to Linda. And the map. The one that led to another victim. Someone was still out there. Someone Linda had found. Someone dangerous enough to kill. Twice. And now, Ellie wasn't just trying to solve a mystery. She was chasing the people who had built their whole lives on a lie. Because the case wasn't cold anymore. It was burning. And the fire was coming for them next. Ellie never believed. Her mom's story was finished. Not after the car. Not after the body in the woods. Not even after Carl Redford died. She felt it deep down. Something was still missing. So she started over. From scratch, she opened every old box in her closet. Dug through drawers. Read every letter again. she visited retired cops. Some slammed their doors. Others gave her long looks, sad, quiet, guilty. One handed her an old photo of Linda at her desk. Another gave her a list of radio call logs from 1979. At night, Ellie listened to old police scanner recordings. Static-filled tapes with broken voices and numbers. She made charts, maps, timelines. Her apartment looked like a detective's war room. It had been over 20 years since Linda vanished. But Ellie wasn't tired. If anything, she felt closer than ever, because her mom didn't leave without a plan. She knew something. She left clues. And Ellie believed, when the last piece was found, it would all snap together. And someone, somewhere, would finally have to answer. One morning, while digging through a dusty storage box labeled Dad's Tools, Ellie found something strange. A small plastic case. Inside, a cassette tape. Faded label. Handwritten in blue ink. Holly, final shift. She stared at it. It was her mom's last recorded radio shift. The one from the day she disappeared. She didn't even own a cassette player anymore. She borrowed one from a thrift store and pushed play. The tape hissed to life that it was quiet at first. Just routine calls. Speeders, road checks. Then Linda's voice, calm, steady. Ellie froze. That voice. After all these years, it was like hearing a ghost. Then came a call around 1:30 p.m. Linda said she was checking something out. No location given. Just, I'll be back on channel in 15. Then silence. But near the end of the tape, something strange, faint, like a whisper. Linda's voice again. She said one last thing. Look under the badge. Then the tape clicked off. Ellie hit rewind. Played it again. It was real. Her mom had left a message. Hidden, waiting. Now, Ellie just had to figure out what it meant. Ellie rushed to the evidence locker. Her mom's badge, the one recovered from the crushed patrol car, had been returned to her weeks earlier. It was in a glass box in her closet. She grabbed it, heart pounding. Look under the badge. She turned it over. Nothing. She slid her fingernail along the edge. Still nothing. Then she noticed 4 tiny screws on the back. She grabbed a small eyeglass, screwdriver, and carefully twisted them out. The badge's metal backing came loose. Inside, hidden in the hollow space, was a tiny folded slip of paper. Ellie's hand shook as she opened it. 3 numbers. That's all. #217, number 310, #225. No names. No explanation, but she recognized the format. They were badge numbers. She flipped to an old department roster from the year her mom vanished. One by one, she matched the numbers. All 3 belonged to officers Linda had worked with. Her mother had hidden them here, behind the badge, before she disappeared. Ellie didn't know what it meant yet, but she knew this. Her mom didn't trust those men. And now, neither did she. Ellie took the 3 badge numbers and began digging. One belonged to Officer Raymond Price. He died in 1985. Car crash. No autopsy report filed. The second, Lieutenant Charles Henley, retired in 1991. Found dead in his home 4 years later. Ruled suicide, but no note. Gun still in hand. The third was still alive. Sergeant David Knox. Ellie's stomach turned. He had been quiet all these years. Moved 2 towns over. Worked private security now. Low profile. No interviews. No comments. No involvement. But when Ellie searched court records, she found something big. Knox had been questioned, not charged, in a 1980 drug trafficking investigation. The case was dropped. Witness disappeared. Later, his name popped up in 2 separate corruption complaints. Both dismissed. No press coverage. No follow-up. But her mom had written down his badge number. He was the only one left alive, and maybe the only one who could confirm what Linda had really found back then. Ellie didn't call the police. She didn't send an email. She packed her bag, got in her car, and drove toward his house. Because the story wasn't over. It was just getting started. Ellie didn't go alone. She brought detectives with her. They surrounded the home of Sergeant David Knox just before sunrise. He opened the door in sweatpants, holding a cup of coffee. When he saw Ellie, his face went white. "You know why we're here," the lead officer said. Knox didn't fight, didn't speak. He was handcuffed on his own porch. Inside, they searched the house. Dusty, quiet, nothing special. But in the back room, tucked inside a locked drawer, they found a small wooden box. Inside, it were letters, all handwritten, all signed, Linda Hawley. The paper was old, the ink faded, but the dates were shocking. July 2nd, July 5th, July 11th. Weeks after she had disappeared. Each letter was addressed to Ellie. She had never seen them. They weren't notes from a hiding place. They were cries for help. In one letter, Linda wrote, "They won't let me go. I don't know where I am. If someone finds this, please tell my daughter I tried to come back." Ellie read the words out loud, her voice breaking. That's when Knox finally spoke. He looked down at the table and whispered, "It wasn't supposed to happen like this." In the interrogation room, Knox broke down. He said Linda had figured it all out. The drug runs, the fake calls, the nighttime handoffs. She brought her notes to him. Thought he would help, but he was in on it. He said he didn't want her dead. He begged the others to scare her off, but they panicked. Said she knew too much. So they lured her out. The fake crash call near the river. She went alone. There. They ambushed her. Knox claimed she begged, fought, screamed, but in the end, one of the others, he wouldn't say who, struck her in the head. She didn't get back up. He said they had a plan ready. The patrol car had been stripped weeks earlier. Beneath the trunk floor, there was a hidden compartment, welded shut, sealed from the inside. It had been built for drug runs. They used it to hide bodies now. They wrapped her, slid her inside, sealed the door, buried the car in the riverbed. And left it. For 15 years. She never had a chance. Knox said. His voice cracked. "She trusted me. I let her die." Across the table, Ellie stared at him, eyes full of quiet rage. Authorities returned to the riverbed. The car had already been excavated weeks before, but now they knew where to look. They lifted the frame again and brought in a forensics team. Beneath the floorboard of the trunk, behind a steel panel, they found a sealed chamber. Inside it were human remains, bones, fabric, a ring, and a faded photo of Ellie as a little girl. It was Linda. After all the years, all the searches, all the silence, she had never left that river. The truth was buried with her. Ellie stood by the gravesite 1 week later, holding the photo they found. She laid flowers on the casket, touched the wood gently. Then she whispered, "You were never forgotten." And for the first time since she was 8 years old, she had an answer. Her mother didn't run. She didn't disappear. She had been taken. But now, after 15 years, she was finally home. And the silence that had haunted this town, that had buried the truth for so long, was finally broken. Ellie turned and walked away, her head held high. And behind her, the sun broke through the clouds. Just a little. Linda Hawley wasn't just a cop. She was a mother, a fighter, and a woman who refused to stay silent, even when it cost her everything. For 15 years, her name was a mystery. Her story was unfinished, but her daughter never stopped asking questions, never stopped searching. And in the end, it wasn't a detective or a breakthrough in forensics that solved this case. It was Ellie. Because sometimes the people who bring monsters to light aren't cops, they're daughters, they're survivors. And they don't need badges to find the truth. Thanks for watching.